Hey everybody, Sunny with Synergy Real Estate and Property Management back with you today. And today we're going to be going over actually working with subcontractors, right? So as a property manager and real estate broker, we do work with a lot of different contractors and subcontractors. And so it's very important for us to have a very clear system and way that we work with them. So that way we're professional about it and we don't end up in these arguments that a lot of people will have if they are not clear about what's going on and how to move forward. So the first thing for us when working with a subcontractor or contractor is to make sure that we are very clear in what we are looking for. And for us, it is very simple, right? We want to make sure the work is done right. We want to make sure the work is done on time. We want to make sure that if anything does happen where the repair does not work correctly, that you do come back and you have to fix it for free for a specific amount of time. Now that for us becomes a basic framework on how we work with our subcontractors, right? We want to make sure that they are professional. We want to make sure that they do things correctly and they are licensed properly as needed, right? So in doing that, that's kind of our starting point. From there, we go into kind of getting things in writing, right? We want to make sure that when we're working with people, we have our contracts in writing. And the reason is because, then that gives us something to go back to and say, hey, this is what we agreed on. This is what you delivered. There is a difference here. And so how are we going to reconcile this difference? And in some cases, with people who are more unprofessional, you will notice that, those differences maybe cannot be reconciled. And sometimes you take a loss and that's part of the business and that happens, right? But those differences, at least a lot of the time, can be reconciled because you are able to physically show somebody like, hey, we did agree on this and this is what we actually came back with. So here's where the discrepancy is. If you cannot see that, then we have to be able to fix this, right? So definitely important to have things in writing, and that's something that's really important for us, even for our smaller owners, because our smaller owners tend to want to do things just on a handshake and tend to want to do things just on word of mouth, and that's great, and we do love that way of business, and we do think that that should be the way of doing business. We shouldn't need these paperwork and contracts and lawyers and this and this and that. We should be able to just look you in the eye, shake your hand, and this is what we're going to do, right? But that's unfortunately not the way that the world works right now. And so the contract is just something that is unchanging, that we can come back to as a set of rules and ideals that we wanted to make sure that happen and we are able to take care of, right? The next thing is the insurance. So insurance, we want to make sure that the people that are working on the properties have correct insurance. And the reason is because it may be a small job, you may be going to fix just a sink, but if the dog gets out of the backyard and the guy gets bit, we want to make sure that he has his insurance and we have our insurance, right? The other thing is if let's say he's going to fix the stove and is using a box cutter to cut some package open and slices his finger, we want to make sure that he has proper insurances to help him take care of that and make sure that he's covered and covers us as well. And finally, we want to make sure that we kind of have like a standardized agreement. So it's not only by the job as to, okay, this is what we expect from you and this is what you expect from us and this is how we're going to put it down, but we want to have an agreement as to, okay, well, when you do work for us, this is what we expect from you. For example, we want to make sure that when you're going to our properties, you are dressed in a specific manner, right? We don't want to have you showing up with your tattoos all out and your tank top on and your shorts and flip-flops coming to fix somebody's house, right? We want you to show up in professional shoes. We want you to show up in nice working pants. We want you to show up with a polo on, a t-shirt on, something presentable. That way, you make people feel comfortable while you're in their home. We want to make sure that you speak to them in a professional manner. We want to make sure that you explain to them what you're doing and why you're doing it. And we want to make sure that, you act as a professional person inside of another person's home because you're representing us as well. And although you may not be directly employed by us as a subcontractor, as a property manager, we look for people who are going to make us look good as we partner with them moving forward as well. So a couple different tips here. You know, as a smaller landlord, you can take this and you can use this yourself. Ideally, you know, you can have somebody come in that does property management, and now you know that, you know, this is specific to the way that we do things. We have thought about this. It's not just, you know, we're trying to manage your property just because we want to collect money every month and we're not going to do anything, right? We have thought about, well, how do we actually create systems and processes and make this a good experience for landlords, tenants, and ourselves alike. So again, if you have any real estate comments or questions you'd like to see us make any specific videos, please do comment below. We'd love to see those things. We'd love to be able to respond back to you and be able to create content that you think is valuable. If you thought this content was valuable, I'd be happy to see you hit that like button if you wouldn't mind. It does help us with the YouTube algorithm. If you hit subscribe as well, please do. This video is going to be about the Silver Wings Commerce Center. This is